Hey everyone, everyone watching, how are you doing? Is everyone safe and healthy out there? I really hope you are. Living in some interesting times at the moment, that is for sure. But thanks for checking this out and coming to hang out with me, and I hope you'll stay for the rest of this series. Basically going to walk you through how I mix a metal song. This is a song by a band called Hylozalis. I hope I pronounced that correctly. That I mixed for them last year for their debut EP. It's pretty killer, so I'm bringing it in here, and we're going to do it from scratch. I'm going to remix it entirely from scratch, show you how I do it, walk through it all, and hopefully it'll be fun. Hopefully it'll be interesting. All those good things. So what we're going to talk about right now is we're going to talk about my template for mixing and the prep work that I do before the actual mixing begins. So first, I'm going to talk about my template. So my template is a little bit interesting because the workflow is fairly similar actually to someone that might be mixing hybrid, working in the box and then also having a console to break out to, except that, of course, it is all entirely in the box. So what you'll notice here is, so this is my editor window timeline in Cubase. But you'll notice that when I go over to my mixer here, it's different channels. So the reason is that I've basically set this up so you can kind of think about it like this window is a tape machine with all the audio, and then this is where it actually feeds to, and this is kind of like the mixing console. Basically, to set it up in Cubase, these are all just what they call group channels, or like an aux channel or whatever. Then down towards left here, I've got VCAs, and then I've got all my preset effects ready to go. Reverbs, delays, choruses, wideners, all that sort of fun stuff. So basically what I do is I have all of these audio bits here, and all of them are routed to I guess I'll call them my console channels. And what that allows me to do is very easily group things together. For example, we have two lead vocal tracks here, but they're just a handoff. They're not overlapping other than a little bit of fading out here. So we can send them both to our lead vocal channel, and then it's like it's one track. I don't know if I'm doing much more of that here because there wasn't a whole ton of tracks to deal with here, but it's very helpful because when I'm dealing with 100, 150 tracks, which certainly can happen, I can break it down to a manageable number of faders, which for me happens to be 48. That just seems to be a number that works for me, plus my VCA faders and effects faders. So that's basically my template. And then if I open up my inserts panel, you will see that I've got some things already ready to go. They're disabled in Cubase. They're not just bypassed. They're totally disabled, so they're not using any CPU. So if I don't turn them on, I'm not using any power on them. But for example, we go over to my lead vocal channel here, and I've got kind of a nice strip here. I've got the Waves, the Bluey CLA 76, which I have never found a plugin to beat it for vocals, except for the odd time when it's a little too much. Then I'll use this wonderful leveling tool plugin. This is free, by the way. Absolutely recommend it. And then, it's set up ready to go into a de-esser. So that's just an example, and you'll notice I've got inserts like that kind of across all of my channels, and it's just kind of good starting points that I can pop them on fairly quickly and not have to tweak too much, and it kind of does what I want it to do. Then same down here, this is really just all my effects ready to go. Then we'll look over at my master bus here. It's fairly simple. I've got the Brainworks SSL channel. I'm actually using it as like a console emulation / saturation. A couple of the companies make the bus plugins that's modeling the bus of this SSL console, but I like the saturation and the sound of just this channel plugin. So I put on the master bus, I crank the total harmonic distortion, the THD, because it's fairly subtle and it just makes it super duper fat, rounds off the top end a little bit, gives a little bit of like juice in the lows, and makes it all good. Also, I'm using this plugin to completely cheat. Look at this. I'm knocking it down by 9 dB. It just gets my gain structure in a much more comfortable place where I can mix, I can push faders up to, you know, around the zero, around unity. They can live around there, and my master bus isn't completely blowing up. You know, that's the wonderful thing about being in these modern, you know, floating point audio engines is you can cheat like that. You know, you can't clip inside it. You can only clip once you're going out your converters. And having this gain down here just gets me in the park where I'm comfortable and my gain structure works and I'm not constantly running out of headroom. Then next we have, you're going to see a lot of Plugin Alliance. I just subscribed to their subscription the other day, and I'm just loving all of their plugins. So you're going to see a bunch of their stuff here. The Shadow Hills, the mastering compressor, the Class A. Love it. I'm not using the optical section. I'm just using the discrete or VCA section. Kind of a medium attack on, I think it's, 5 milliseconds. Fast recover at 1 millisecond. 2 to 1, so we're not slamming anything crazy. And then just matching my gain there. Okay, so that's the template. Now I want to talk to you guys about what I do. I call it pre-mixing, or it's almost like fake tracking. Because I mean, a lot of the time these days, you know, we're either recording ourselves or we're getting tracks that are recorded just straight into an interface with a really, you know, very clean mic pre. There hasn't been any EQ compression done to it at all. And that's fine. That's totally cool. You know what? It's pretty darn hard to screw that up, which is great. But it kind of leaves a bit more distance to get where you want to go. So what I will actually do, you'll notice that a lot of these parts have that R beside it, which means rendered. You'll notice all the drums pretty much do. So what I'll actually do when I get something, and if I know how it was recorded, I know that it was recorded flat, or I take a listen to it and I can kind of go, you know, this is very clean. It's very peaky and not really controlled. What I'll do, I'm just going to open up the hidden version of this. This was the original vocal file. I'll go through and I'll make a plugin chain that's just like if I was tracking it and I had access to some like super wicked gear. So for example, you know, like a 1073 emulation. We've got some drive on the mic pre, a little bit of EQ using the high pass filter there. Then go into this wonderful Millennia compressor, kind of an opto style. You know, I don't want to ever slam it at this stage, but just kind of tame the peaks, keep it a little bit more under control. It needed some de-essing, so we did that. And can't go wrong with putting some tape saturation, especially on a vocal. Sounds really nice. Smooths it out. Love it. And then what I will do is I will actually render all of those plugins onto the audio. So I have a blank channel. It's not taking up any more CPU because it's already been dealt with. I don't need to change it. I'm not doing anything too drastic that's going to screw it up. It's just a little bit of sweetening like I would do if I was the one tracking this and I had access to some great gear. So I'll do that definitely on vocal. Come down and I'll do that on drums as well. And it's kind of the same thing. I'm not going to go through every one because I'll use some different plugins. But if we just open this up, we did just a couple things. We had, this channel strip. So some preamp drive there. A little bit of high boost, a little bit of low boost. No compression. And then hitting the tape machine. Again, I don't want to go through all of these. That it seems to me to kind of get lost is the idea that, if you don't have analog gear to track with, you can't have a good tracking sound when you go to mix, and all the plugins have to be put on when you mix. Well, no, you can render stuff, and even if you don't have any gear but you have plugins while you're tracking, you know what? Monitor through them if your interface and will support it. And then when you're done, if you like the sound, just render it. And then it's on the audio. You don't have to, it's decisions that have been made. And a lot of people talk about the analog workflow being so great because you have to make decisions. Well, you can do that in the box as well. You just have to decide to do them. So that's about that for the setup here. Next, we will get into listening to the rough mix, kind of figuring out what the song needs to do, and we'll go from there. We'll start mixing. Alrighty.